in New York City, like finding a job in games is not, it's not California, but like you can still make amazing stuff here with amazing people here. So from that, like I built a studio called Made in Brooklyn Games. We are focusing on creating rich experiences with a hint of social commentary, because like games are cool, but you know you can also have like a hint of like conversation in there. Also, you know, like our goal is not to like shove an agenda down anyone's throat. It's just kind of like treat it like a Boondocks episode, where it's just it was a funny, enjoyable episode. But hey, you know, if you want to talk about like one of the themes in there, yeah, go ahead. Yeah. So our latest project right now is called Museum Multiverse. It's will be released this fall, and what's cool about this is basically the story behind it is you wake up as a kid in a cursed museum of the forgotten artists, artists that weren't represented in their time, and you have to find your way out by jumping into different artworks, rectifying parts of the wrongs in those pieces to find your way out. What's cool is each time you jump into a different painting, it's a perspective change. So it's kind of like you play from a third-person platformer in some levels all the way to a first-person exploration game, which is cool, but that basically means you're making like 5 games. So like start small in your first projects. So there's a lot of, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of like terms on like AR, VR. So I want to kind of explain what XR is and what is XR, you know? So it's a facet of like a bunch of different like mediums extending reality. The first that we probably all know about is AR, and AR is augmented reality. Basically what that means is you're just adding objects into reality through like whether it be like a phone or like glasses or anything else. So think of this as like Pokemon Go, Snapchat lenses, and what else?
Instagram has it too.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Oh, the new Harry Potter one.
Yeah, but like no one's playing that,
No.
so like so, I don't want to bring that in there and just be like, oh, there's a new Harry Potter game out. I didn't know that, you know. But yeah, it's there's a lot of amazing things you can do with AR in a non-gaming sense. Like for example, one of the projects I worked on here was I find cards like terribly boring. So what if you kind of like add like a whole nother experience on top of a card that you give somebody? You know, like you could basically have like a inner snow globe on your card, and then you won't throw out your card. You know, so there's like a lot of really cool like practical tool-based uses along with games in AR, and it's honestly what I think is going to like get people into XR, because like you can use like you can use Snapchat and you have an XR, you have a AR experience. You can use maps, the new maps feature if you have a pixel, which would give you a breadcrumb trail to where you were going, like in a video game. All of that are stuff that like people use every day over kind of putting on a headset. So this is really cool in the sense that it's the easiest way to kind of introduce people into like XR.
So is XR like a catch-all term?
Yeah.
Okay.
Virtual reality, near and dear to my heart, is you know, a completely simulated experience. Basically, you're siloed into a headset and you're fully immersed in your experience based off of like whatever the user, whatever the developer makes. So there's costs and benefits to this. Like one of the benefits, of course, is you're completely in this world. One of the costs is like the friction of getting people into headsets, as well as like crazy reactions like this. Some people love that. Some people hate that. This is actually a reaction that don't look away. So like I'm pretty proud of that. But of course, adoption is a little bit tougher on this because you just have to get people into headsets. So like what I'd recommend doing is like you should kind of like introduce people into like your experiences through like AR first, and then kind of get them invested to like put on a headset. So I'll explain how I'm doing that in later in our Q&A bit. And of course, we have MR, which is kind of like the mixture of both. This is kind of like what was it, Google Glass, or like the new Apple glasses are trying to do. So yeah, like you're basically trying to put both onto the world. And best example to kind of explain this is the Microsoft HoloLens, along with the Magic Leap, which has anyone played that yet? Yeah, exactly. It's like these things, like one of the unfortunate things about mixed reality is like, it's really amazing, but it's really expensive at this point in time. So like a headset is, I think, like $3,000 base. Yeah, I know. And like like companies aren't like gonna give you free dev kits for this. The dev kit costs $3,000. So you're wild. So second that comes down, then there'll probably be more apps on that. So yeah, all of that together is what XR is. There's a couple of other things in the XR field, like things like wearables and stuff are technically kind of considered XR as well, but this is kind of like what fully encompasses like the infinity gauntlet that is XR.
But then, like, doesn't that like play into the fact, like, start to question like what constitute like impression on reality? You know?
True.
It's like anything or any device that like affects our reality, a version of XR, or.
Yeah, so that's like that's the
Philosophical
that's like some of the deep questions we're gonna get into like 5 years down the line, because like things are gonna get so real, as well as things being like, for example, like if you make a post on social media, like basically you made something that's technically digital, but it's technically in the world that is like real and it affects people. So is it not real, kind of thing? Like it's the same thing as if you were like kind of like in an experience and like it really changed your outlook on things. So like wasn't it real? Like, so I completely feel it, and there's going to be debates about this, and it's going to be great because you'll be on the front lines of it. So we're going to kind of focus, as I mentioned, on VR development. So with VR development, there's a couple of options. You don't have to stick to Unity. If you're going the web route, you'd probably want to do something like React 360, React VR, or A-Frame. You're going to learn about that in the next lecture, which is really cool if you're interested. What's cool about building stuff for the web is it's a web page. So like when you have a headset, you can just go to that web page. Any headset can use it. So because it's a website, it's pretty dope because you don't need to install like a whole new like package. You don't need to like execute an executable. You don't have to go through the firewall that is like a company like Oculus saying like, yo, you can't put your game on here. Like it's something that doesn't fit our like company value and stuff, but you can't like a website is usually a lot easier to just kind of build stuff on. You also have the Unreal Engine, which is great because AAA studios use this. Like you can probably think of a game that has used this, and it's pretty dope. Example, yeah, exactly, Fortnite. So therefore, it's battle tested, and it actually like builds out production code where millions upon millions of people use like the software that's built from Unreal. What's a little unfortunate about it, in my opinion, is it just started kind of being more friendly to indies. So like you're not getting like the benefits that you would from Unity's like years upon years of like people kind of updating the forums, like helping people out in the past and stuff like that. So Unreal has a little bit of catching up to do on that front, but it's still an amazing engine. If you want to make something beautiful in VR, Unreal is great on like creating things like shaders and stuff like that. And also, so what's interesting as well is if you're new to code, this is technically how you can build stuff in Unreal. So it's this programming language called Blueprints, and basically it's node-based. So all of this is just lines of code that kind of that's built to C++, compiles to C++, and it runs just as fast as like building, building it in C++. Learning Unreal, like I had a really great teacher who like works on like, was it at Double Fine now, and he mentioned how like he's only like in his like, what was it, like 15 years working in Unreal, he's only had to like go into C++ code like maybe twice, which is really crazy. But we're going to be using Unity. Unity is great because it's user-friendly for beginners. If you get lost, 1,000 people had been lost in that topic already, so you'll find an answer. And there's so many like assets out there that I'll explain as well. So this is what we'll kind of talk about and we'll kind of work on today. And yeah, let me explain a little bit more about what makes Unity interesting. So this is an example of like a Unity project. What's interesting is everything in Unity is a game object. So what does that mean? That basically means that every piece of material or object that's in the game is what is scripted